I think young women going into the profession now are facing very similar things that my generation did. So I'm one of the last of the Generation X's. I'm at the very tail end of X. And it was not that different for us going into what it is for young women now, except we had fewer choices. So you go in and you look around and you say, right, okay, here I am. Okay, where are all the other women? And at first it looks like there's lots of women around, because there's lots of women up to partner level. But as you start to work out who everybody is, and you're going, right, but of the partners, where are the women? And there are some, but there are not many. And so we're still at 30% female partners. And so there's 30% of the partners are women. And then maybe you might realise, or you maybe instinctively might know, that some of the women are more powerful than others. And the reason for that is because about half of them don't have equity. So they're partners, but they're not equity partners. They don't actually have the power that a lot of the male partners have. There are a lot more male equity partners than female equity partners. And equity partners are the owners of the business. They have the power. So you might get this sense that some partners are more powerful than others, and you realise that the women partners with the power are the ones with the life that you don't usually want. So that was my experience when I went through over 20 years ago now, and it's experience for girls going in, young women going in now. They look at the women and they say, well, do I want that life? So if they're a senior associate and they're looking at them working around the clock, and they're looking at them with kids at home, and they're thinking, wow, that's her day at home, but she seems to have been on email all day. Oh, she was supposed to be at the kids' sports carnival today, but she's not in the office, but she's been on email the whole time. Like, has she even seen her kid? Because she's just constantly, or she's hanging up. She's like, I've got to go. My kid's racing now. I've got to go. Hangs up the phone and then calls back at the end of the race. But she's at the sports carnival, but she's on her phone the entire time, except for the race, And so the younger junior women are looking at this. They're looking at the senior associates who are living this life. They're looking at the partners who are living this life, the female partners who are living in this life. And then they look at the male partners, and the male partners often don't leave to go to the sports carnival. They just stay in the office. Well, that's not very appealing either. They're not even getting to the sports carnival. They're just staying in the office constantly. The women, you're seeing them leave all the time, going and doing pickup, going and getting the kids, going to the carnival, going and doing whatever. But you also are seeing them on email because they're replying. They're on the phone. You're seeing them sending emails at 3 a.m. You're seeing all that stuff. So you're like, right, so it looks like she's got a balanced work life because she's working part-time, or she's working flexibly. But actually what's really happening is she's just working constantly, the same as the male partners are, but they're not running around doing all the kid stuff the female partners and female senior associates are. So this was exactly the experience that I had, although the women we didn't have as much, it was BlackBerry time, we didn't even have the iPhone. So there was more in the office time, but it was the same kind of thing. Of these people that I'm looking at, who are the leaders, whose life do I want? Whose life do I want to aspire to in 10, 15, 20 years' time? And it's a question I ask myself, and it's the question that the young lawyers going in ask themselves, and the answer remains none of them. And it really is, Whereas I think for some of the guys, they can look and they can say, actually, yes, him. That could be me. I could see myself being him. And there are some of the girls who will say, yes, actually, her, I can. I'd be fine with that. I don't even really want kids, or, I think it's fine. It's a fair balance. Like, there are some who will choose it, but there are many, many who won't. The difference between them and us, my group, is that we didn't have any other choices. There were law firms, and there was in-house, and there was the bar, being a barrister. And so, but you couldn't just go to the bar. Well, not with any sense. You always needed to do sort of 5 years in a litigation team and then look at going to the bar when you had some connections and also some skills. You couldn't go in-house. No one wanted you in-house until you were at least 3 years. So you needed to do at least 3 years in a firm. And so you just had to tough it out. You had to stay. There was nowhere else for you to go other than starting a new career. The difference now, and this is something the firms have not got their head around, the difference now is that the experience of coming into a firm and saying, whose life do I want? Actually, none of them remains the same. But now the junior lawyers have got options. They've got choices. You can start a business with an ABN and a laptop and a phone. That's all you need. You've got a business now. Congratulations. Ideally, have a website, that wasn't a thing. That wasn't possible when I was a junior. We couldn't just start a business. We couldn't find a niche. We couldn't do things like recognize that there was a certain area of legal kind of advice that people needed, and just set up a business providing that legal advice. There was no such thing as legal operations. There was no such thing as being a legal project manager. There were no such things as legal analysts. There was no career paralegals. All of these jobs, and all, like either jobs or self-created businesses, did not exist, and now they do. And this is what firms haven't got their head around. They haven't changed that experience of what it's like as a junior coming in, looking up and saying, I don't want any of these lives. That's still the same. It's probably worse. But now the juniors have got infinitely more choices than they had before. And that's what we're seeing. They're making those choices and they are leaving. And it doesn't matter, even the ones that are really valued and really good and everybody loves, they're leaving too because they still don't want this life. It's not just those that the firms don't want, it's everyone. So the issue is not on the junior lawyers, the issue is on the firms. They need to find a way to make that group of people a much more appealing group of people to be. And you can tell the juniors whatever you like about part-time partners with children, and even male partners who are, some kind of version of part-time or flexible work. You can tell them that stuff when you're recruiting, and that will get them to choose your firm. But when they are in the firm and they are looking at the actual life of that person, then they will have a completely different approach. You can't hide, I'll never forget, there was a part-time female partner at a firm that I worked at, and that was really sold to me as a selling point. Oh, look, we've even got this female partner and she works part-time. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, that is amazing. Wow, it must be a really kind of advanced kind of firm if you have that. This is sort of 10 years ago now, 7 or 8 anyway. And but when I got in and was working there, I remember being in a meeting with her many probably years later, and she said something like, the only reason that I'm able to be part-time is because all of the people who work for me are full-time. I can't have part-time lawyers working for me because I work part-time. I need everybody who works for me to be full-time. So she specifically was preventing anyone underneath her from working flexibly in order to support her own flexible work. And that was just shocking to me. You sort of expect that this person will support others, but she didn't see it the way she saw it. That was how, she'd earned it, she'd got into partnership, and she'd worked full-time, and now everyone needed to do the same thing for her. And, eventually when they're partner, maybe they can work part-time and have a bunch of full-timers working for them. That was very much the thinking. So that's just not going to fly with this generation of lawyers, and it isn't. It's not flying. And we're going to see a really, really serious, it's already happening, a really serious kind of pinch in terms of not having enough lawyers. And the firms keep kind of saying, we need more lawyers, we need more lawyers. Yeah, you do, but they aren't there. They don't exist. Why would you go from one firm to another? Why would you leave? They're all the same. None of them, they can tell you a story, but none of them can show you with proof a group of leaders who are working in a way and having a life that reflects the kind of life that the junior lawyers would want. And once they get in, they can see it.